What is going on, big schlong gamers? It is Benzer, and today we're going to be going over PhD slider and how it will change the meta within Cold War Zombies. If you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, all that cool nonsense. And if you're new here, make sure you do that, and also check out the links in the description, Discord, all that cool nonsense. And if you subscribe to me, gamer, I'll shout you out. Yeah, you the big homie. And if you don't, I'll literally come to your house and pour plexiglass all over your head. Do it, gamer. Now, Cold War Zombies, obviously, there are a lot of shotgun and, assault rifle meta issues, and in other games there were as well, like, for instance, Black Ops 3, which you're, watching right now. But in other games like Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, you had the ability for PhD flopper, and now I know what you're thinking, right? You're looking at old games, it doesn't really matter, different weapons and all that. But back then, you were able to use said explosives. I mean, now in Cold War Zombies, it's true, you can use them. Explosives, they don't have too bad of an issue when it comes to splash damage because, you got armor and jug and all these other extra stuff that protect you from this. Even using Simtexes, it won't kill you. It's not that too big of an issue. But when you have powerful weapons like you do in Cold War, especially the explosives, which are actually really good, the more you know. I mean, they are pretty KW bad, but they're really not. I mean, once you get them pack-a-punched and all that nonsense, they actually suffice to be a really good weapon, and one that, personally, I really do enjoy, and a lot of other people do as well, especially if you can spam fire with Ring of Fire, which is just stockpile on top of that Ring of Fire, which makes it so much better than it ever was before. Even in Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, you couldn't get that level of, good. And that's another reason why I believe it will be a good thing in Cold War. At least I know a lot of people were upset about double tap not being, in the game now and all that, and that doesn't really matter, to be honest. PhD flopper, for me, at least, will be a game changer. Mainly because of also Ring of Fire, but also because, explosives are really strong in this game. And if you can somehow manage to pair Speed Cola with, like an M27 or even an RPG, it will be absolutely amazing. Like, just alone with, say, explosives, they do a lot of damage in Cold War. You can do a large amount, especially within one area. Even if you don't run Ring of Fire, you can run Ethereal Shroud, run away from the enemies, crowd them up, and explode them. Even though it may not be like the most ideal situation, at times it is, because there are lots of zombies, especially in those higher rounds for zombies. And if you have explosives, and assuming they will get buffed because of PhD slider and all that, especially with the new upgrade that we do know about it, which if you do slide, you can actually explode zombies, which is ultimately banana clada. But that's for another day, okay? PhD slider will be really good in this game, not just alone from the explosives, but also how it acts as well. PhD slider, I mean, like I just said, the explosive slide, but also it is rumored to be said that you can do more explosive damage, which is actually going to be really, really good. And ultimately, if, say we do get a damage buff with explosives, it's not just going to affect explosive weaponry. It might affect lethals as well, such as the Semtex, the C4, Molotovs. The list goes on. You can see what I'm saying. PhD slider will be a really good game changer. Even so, I mean, you can say it could be one of the first perks you get because, death perception, it's good and all, but if you're getting a lot of drop rate, especially because of, say, like, maybe PhD slider will increase the chances of drop rates for lethals, you're going to be getting and saving a lot of salvage, like you're going to be able to save a ton and also kill zombies a lot faster, especially with increased lethal damage, which ultimately we will see, but I mean, it's like 90% sure we're going to get it. We're probably going to get lethal damage, especially if other perks increase damage for lethals, which will be absolutely not lethals, but for like, say, jug, that increases damage, or, armor penetration, or whatever perk it is, okay? Eventually, I think with PhD slider, we'll see a lot of extra lethal utility. We're going to be able to see a lot of lethal equipment and also damage itself. Now, you might be wondering, and this might seem a little off topic, you might be like, Benzer, you keep saying flopper and slider, and that's because, well, in this game, it's a combo of both. If you don't know, PhD slider is supposed to act like both. I know I've mentioned the sliding triggers an explosive, but also when you fall from a very far distance, or whatever the distance is, rather than, it's not exactly descripted yet, but falling from a vertical distance will actually activate the explosive payload that we used to get. And now you might be wondering also, well, how does this change the meta? You know, if you just fall, you know, you might do some explosive damage, whatever, cool. But here's the thing, explosive damage in this game does a lot of damage, especially to armor. Things like the Krasny Soldat, armored zombies, and tempests. There's some other zombies in there too, but to keep this simple, they all have armor, correct, right? We all know this. Everybody runs Shatter Blast as well. We run it to, you know, mitigate the amount of armor, you know, that enemies have, or we also run Death Perception, or whatever it is to help increase our damage penetration or break the armor. If we have PhD Slider, this will help increase that as well, because number one, we're able to use explosive weapons more, which will break, you know, enemy armor, number one. Number two, if we have abilities where we could slide or jump into, say, large enemies or a large crowd of enemies, we could break armor, all that cool nonsense, we're going to do a lot more damage also, alongside with our other perks that increase armor penetration, armor breaking, yada, yada, yada. We get it, right? We all get it. Now, the thing that makes this really good is because if we have this, we're able to kill one of the strongest enemies in the game, especially on those higher rounds, when we have super sprinters or super sprintered armored zombies, all those, you know how it goes. You know, I would say also, you know, Krasny Soldats, they're pretty hard on the higher rounds, but they're not like super sprinter hard, like all in your junk, all your face, you know, you can't get them out of the way. But if we also have PhD Slider, we can just spam fire with Ring of Fire in front of our face and not even have to worry about it at that point. It's going to change high round runs as well, or even speed runs as well, because, you know, explosive damage, if you pair up a like Shatter Blast with an M27 or an M79 with PhD and then, you know, Elemental Pop, you're gonna be able to do a lot of freaking damage. I mean, it's pretty plain and simple. PhD Slider, it's gonna send some zombies flying here, okay? I mean, this thing will absolutely destroy enemies and definitely will change the meta, at least in my opinion. I mean, shotguns, this is another subject I want to talk about. Shotguns, they are pretty good at destroying armor. I mean, fairly well. I mean, in higher rounds, you might have to two-pump an enemy in the chest to break, you know, an armor plate. But if you have an explosive, it's always gonna break it. At the end of the day, explosives are extremely powerful, and they are very explosive. I mean, no pun intended, but they're gonna reach enemies all around, and it might be better than a shotgun as well. Like, you might be thinking as well, if you just spam fire a Gallo or a Howler into a crowd, you know, it's gonna hit a lot of enemies. That is true, correct, but I'm just saying the explosives are gonna do this a lot better. At least I think, you know, personally, I think that's just how it's gonna work. We don't know the tiers exactly yet, but for me, I believe that PhD Slider will do a ton of benefits and also a lot of damage. And you never know. I mean, we might have a couple new explosives that are being added. Like even the Wonder Weapon, we know it's also an axe and it's also a submachine gun, but it also can have explosive rounds on it because, you know, the ray gun had explosive rounds, the Ray K didn't, and also the Cerberus didn't. But you never know, they might want to go 2 for 2 on this time. You know, maybe we might get a submachine gun with explosive round bullets, or maybe they might add an explosive round mag or something like that. Okay, PhD Slider, it's gonna be great. I could go on and on and on, gamers, but I think we all kind of understand PhD Slider, it's gonna be a good perk, and hopefully I'm not wrong, because that would be very, very sad. But hey, gamers, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, all that cool nonsense. Check out the links in the description. Follow Twitter, join the Discord, all that, you know, yada, yada, yada. And if you made it this far, you deserve a cookie, and I love you, and put cookie in the description. And first one to do it, you get a pin. But in that, gamers, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you have a wonderful day. See ya!
Night times.